Good morning. Thank you for joining in today. So glad that you're able to join us this rainy Saturday. As you can see, we're not at the yard sale today. God had other plans with the weather, so nonetheless, we're grateful for another weekend. Excited about what's coming up. And this morning, I just had something quick I'd wanted to share with you from Matthew. So Matthew chapter 8, I'm going to read the first 3 verses, share this quick thought with you, and then give you a few announcements for tomorrow. Matthew chapter 8, the Bible says, "When he was come down from the mountains, great multitudes followed him, and behold, there came a leper and worshipped him, saying, Lord, if thou wilt, thou canst make me clean. And Jesus put forth his hand and touched him, saying, I will, be thou clean. And immediately his leprosy was cleansed." And it's such a great account that we see here, and we see this great faith of this leper. And there's a lot that we can learn here just from these few verses that we read. But here in Matthew 8 verse 2, we see this leopard, and it says, "And behold, there came a leopard." Now we know about lepers in those days. The leper was the most defiled and unclean person. They were outcast. They were considered dead. Their family abandoned them. They had no place in society. But we see this unclean person, this person with essentially no status, boldly approach Jesus. And not because they were bold in who they were, but they were bold in the fact that they knew Jesus. They knew that he was God. They knew that he could cleanse them. And the picture's so great here because what we see in this is that there's no person that is too unclean. There's no person that is too dirty or polluted or sinful to come to Jesus. You know, there are many people in our world today that say, hey, I'm way too sinful to approach Jesus. But we see the total opposite, because God is able to deliver all people. He's able to save all. So this leopard, he comes to God boldly. He comes to Jesus. And what does he do? He worships him. He worships him. He worshiped the Lord for who he was. You know, he recognized that Jesus was worthy of worship. He recognized that Jesus was God. You know, when we approach the Lord, are we only approaching him because, hey, we have requests and I want God to do this? And we'll see that in a second with the words that he chooses. But do we approach God for who he is? Do we come to him in recognition of who he is? Or are we only coming with outreached hands waiting for something because we need something? So the leper worships him and he says, Lord, if thou will, thou canst make me clean. And this leopard, he shows great faith in Jesus. He believed that Jesus had the power to heal him. He knew that he had the power to heal him. But what he recognized, and what we need to recognize, that it was a matter of Jesus choosing to cleanse him. If it's God's will for him to cleanse the leopard, is essentially what he was saying. He's saying, God, I know you can, but if you will, cleanse me. And I think sometimes we forget, yes, we know God can. God can do all things. It's not something unknown to us that God is omnipotent. But what we forget is that it's a matter of his will. You know, when Jesus taught the disciples to pray, he said, thy will be done. It's not something that God needs to do in our lives when we come before him with a prayer request. But it's something, unless he wills it for our lives, and that's something that we need to do. We need to make sure that when we're praying, yes, we understand that God can, but it's a matter of, God, will you do this? Is it your will for my life to grant this request? And we need to trust his will for our lives. You know, sometimes we don't want God's will for our lives, and that's a totally different story. But we need to accept God's will for our lives. And we need to trust his will for our lives and be grateful for his will in our lives. And the interesting thing is, you know, we don't know all the miracles that Jesus did in his ministry, but we do know that there are many who didn't come to receive him. There were many who didn't have faith in him. Not every leper came to Jesus for cleansing, which was a very interesting thing, because in those days there was no cure for leprosy. There was no treatment for them, and they were essentially outcast, sent out to die on their own. And even in that case, not every leper came to Jesus for cleansing, because even back then in every generation there are unbelievers who do not come to Jesus Christ. Some do not trust Jesus for who he is. They don't believe in him or his power, which we see this with this leper who did come. He believed Jesus, he believed his power, and knew that he could heal him. And there are some people who know Jesus, but they're unwilling to offer themselves to him. They're not willing to come and bow down before him. They're not willing to receive Jesus for who he is. They don't want to submit to him. But we see that is what this leper did. In verse 3, and Jesus put forth his hand and touched him, saying, I will, be thou clean. And immediately his leprosy was cleansed. We see here something very interesting in the fact that Jesus touched the leper. In those days, you were not to touch the leper. You were supposed to stay away. They were supposed to keep away a certain amount of feet. But we see that Jesus reached out and touched him. And we know that Jesus didn't need to do that, but he was showing that, hey, I care for this person. He put forth his hand and he touched them. No one else would. And Jesus reached out to the most defiled. And we need to remember that Jesus cares for all people. And we need to remember, as believers, we need to be caring for all people. It's so easy for us to accept some and reject others, or want to help some and not be willing to help others, or maybe the outcast of this world or the rejected of this world. We need to be receiving of all people. We are called to reach all people, and Jesus did that in his ministry. And here's another clear picture of that, and an example of how we need to be in our ministries today. So I hope this is giving you some sort of challenge today, some kind of encouragement, whether it's knowing that Jesus can, but a matter of will he, or maybe we can approach Jesus Christ no matter our position, no matter what status we are in life. We can approach Jesus Christ. Or maybe it's a help to you today in the fact that, hey, we need to be receiving all people, no matter who they are, no matter what their standing in life is or in society. We need to be receiving all people and sharing Jesus Christ with them. So that is it for today for the devotional. As I mentioned, obviously with the rain that we've had and the weather we're having today, there's no yard sale, so that is postponed. We will continue that. We'll group that all together in July 8th when we have our car wash. We'll have a big community day and a day of outreach and trying to share the gospel with our community, and I'm very excited to be able to do that. But tomorrow for Rocky Ridge Ranch Day, the weather does look like it's holding off and it's supposed to be okay. But regardless, if there is rain, we still meet at Rocky Ridge Ranch. They have a chapel there where we can have service. So regardless of the weather tomorrow, Rocky Ridge Ranch, we are excited to meet there every year. So do remember, there is no church service tomorrow at the church building. So don't go to the church building. Go to Rocky Ridge Ranch if you're planning to attend. Go to the church website. They have all the information there, directions to get there. There's a map and everything. So we are excited about that. Remember, dress is casual, and bring your lawn chairs. You want a spot to sit. If you signed up for hot dogs and hamburgers, we'll get those tickets to you tomorrow. And if you didn't plan to bring a meal, I know many people bring meals anyways. We do ask that everyone does bring sides and desserts just to share. Well, you don't have to share, but you can have that with yourself or share that with other people. And it's just a great time of fellowship tomorrow. Great time to just be out and enjoy God's nature. So we hope to see you there. If you have any questions about tomorrow, don't hesitate to reach out and let us know. So that is it for today. I trust that you enjoy the rest of your day, and we will see you tomorrow. God bless now. Take care.